Hello, everyone watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify. It's another episode of NRG Insights. For those that don't know, NRG Insights is where we speak to influential people in the market across financial services, whether that be broking, lending, or the kind of ancillary products that go with everything we do. So today I've got Jonathan Sealey from Hope Capital. Thanks for joining, Jonathan.
Thank you for inviting me over. Thank you very much.
No problem at all. No, I was looking forward to it. It's been a long time coming, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. Thank you for having me on. I did call you a few weeks ago at the awards event, and said, "Yeah, I want to come in. I want to come on." So yeah, thank you for having me. I don't know why I put myself forward for it, but thank you.
So talk to me about your kind of journey to being CEO at Hope. Talk to me about that kind of financial services journey.
So it certainly isn't a financial services story, to be honest. I've probably got to take it back to 2002 when I sort of left school. I didn't do as well as I should have done in my A-levels. Didn't get the grades I needed to go and do, I think it was business studies at Newcastle University. So I had to go through clearing, which was quite stressful. I ended up going to Sheffield and doing economics. I thought I'd love economics because I did it at A-level for 2 years at school, and I got to Sheffield, and the A-level side of the economics was pretty much completed within 2 weeks of university life, and it got into real economics, which wasn't really for me. I still don't really understand what a matrix is, but I remember seeing something about them, and I got to a point where I did some exams in January, February, and thought, no, this is not for me. I don't really want to do this. So not only in the space of 12 months did I not do very well on my exams, but I also wanted to leave university, which left my parents in a bit of with a bit of a headache. So I then got a job working for one of my dad's friends, actually, in a estate agency in Liverpool. At that point, obviously, it was a bit of a boom, wasn't it? 2002, 2003. He was buying properties, small terrace, small semi-detached houses, doing them up and selling them on through his own estate agency, doing very well out of it. So you think, okay, property is something I want to get into. So I looked into various options, and I wanted to go back to university, and I really did enjoy Sheffield. I loved it as a place. So I defected from Sheffield University to Sheffield Hallam University to do the real estate degree.
Yeah,
I loved it. Really enjoyed it. It was a great time. I loved the people of Sheffield. Still got some really good friends who I was on the course with. Do a lot of business with some of them as well because they're still in the industry, which is fantastic. That course was 4 years. So year out, I went to go and work for a property developer in Liverpool called Muggle Developments. There was a guy called Michael Hanlon, and he taught me a hell of a lot in that year. Went back to university and then left, I think with a 2-1 in the real estate degree in 2007. And then he invited me back to work for the Muggle Group. It was there, obviously, learned how to look at property development, planning. I became a chartered surveyor through the RICS, through the sort of planning and development route. And then the credit crunch and the whole thing came down in 2008. Pardon?
That's the joy of the credit crunch.
The joy of the credit crunch. So from coming out of university, be really like, right, can't wait to get into it. We're doing developments here. We're doing stuff here. We're going to go for planning game on this. It became management. It was just looking after current assets, sweating the assets, just rental income, just trying. Obviously, probably at that point, didn't really understand the funding side of development and stuff within that particular business. But pay off, pay your mortgage, pay your funders.
Yeah.
So that happened, and then I wasn't too happy about just managing property. I wanted to do something else. And my dad actually gave me the opportunity to go and work with him in Manchester for a venture capital company called Aquarius Equity Partners. That was about 2009. They were
was
a
it
VC
still tough
company.
in venture capital then? Was it still like, it wasn't a lot of dough until the next few years, or was it quite an affluent time for them?
For VC, I mean, my job was actually investor relations. So my job there was actually to speak to high net worths and try and get them to invest in stuff which I didn't really understand, biotechnology and pharmaceuticals and medical devices. So yeah, it was. People did have money. People wanted to invest in things. So I then worked for him in Manchester for 6 months. Moved down to London to grow my network of investors and high net worth investors. It was a lot of going out, a lot of networking, a lot of speaking to people. And whilst I was down there, I was speaking to a guy who was helping me get into various other high net worths in London. And he was actually a bridging broker on the side. So that's where I first heard about bridging finance. And funny enough, at the same time, my dad had a meeting with a solicitor in Liverpool who was upset one day because a development deal had fallen out of bed, and he said he needed a bridging lender. So we both actually came together, talked about bridging finance at the same time, and thought, okay, well, I don't really want to be raising money for a VC fund all my life. I don't really understand anything about biotechnology.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to get back into property. So let's look at this bridging. I mean, how hard can it be? You're lending money at X amount
Say
on
that
a
now,
property.
after many years, isn't it? Like, how hard can it be?
I went into it so I didn't know. I'll be honest, didn't really know what I was doing when I went into this. So my dad said to me, okay, well, I'll back you if you come up with a business plan. Yep. Tell me what the market is, who's in the market, what rates we get, what would you need to pay investors to come into the business to support it and fund it. Mm-hmm. So I did. I spent the next sort of 2-3 months coming up with a business plan. Part of that business plan was I would use my savings to find an office and pay for the legals side of it in terms of the legal pack to do the deals and to complete the bridging loans. If my parents would fund or invest, they did get 12% per annum on their money. They'd invest in me as the business. So I think that started looking for an office. Found an office which was far too big for what I needed, but it was actually it was owned by my ex-boss Michael Hanlon from McGull Group, and he did a deal on it. He was next door. So Hope Capital was born.
What year was that?
That was 2011.
Blimey, okay.
So I had no grand vision of disrupting the market. I had no grand vision of, I'm going to be better than everyone else. It was just, okay, this works. I think this works. So let's lend well, and let's just see how we get on. And so we did. We didn't do a deal for 6 months, but yeah.
How was it at the beginning? How was it finding those first deals? So I speak to new startups now, and obviously those first couple of deals are so important. Well, your first saved a couple of million. You always remember
your first deal.
You remember it?
You always remember your first deal.
How long did it take to get it?
So I borrowed a desk and a chair off a friend. I bought myself like a Nokia 3210 mobile, pay as you go, like a burner phone for the office phone. I designed what I thought was at the time ingenious. It was like a slinky to sort of show how flexible we could be. And I spoke to Bridging Commercial, Bridging Introducer, I think Financial Reporter, they were called something else at the time. Yep. And paid them 250 quid each to send out e-shots to their database and hope the phone rang. Yeah, it did eventually. And we did our first deal about 5 or 6 months later. I think it was February of 2012. And you say you always remember your first deal. It was £55,000 property, or loan, in Hornsey, East Yorkshire. Little card shop on the ground floor, little flat above. I drove over there, picked this little old lady up from the train station who was the borrower. We went to the property, we had a look around the property, read through the legal paperwork about 50,000 times before completing it, and that was the first one.
So how was that? How was that start up with no real process at the beginning, right? So you've got to learn everything.
Nothing. No, like I said, you look back and you think, Jesus, how did we get through all of that to where we are now? It's quite scary, to be honest. But
actually, I'll tell me this: when was the point? And we'll go back, but just interesting is when was the point when you looked and were like, okay, now we've got a proper bridging business here. Did it happen? Like when you come and get over an injury, you don't really know when it happened. But did you ever a point when you went, oh, this is real?
I don't know the exact time, but it was probably when we went out and raised sort of more institutional funding. And you go out there and you speak to these institutional funders, and we were still probably quite young at that point. So we had my family, my parents invested in it. Then we brought in some other black book contacts of my father. Then a family office partnered with us, which was probably about 2015. I think it was probably around between that and when we got our first sort of institutional non-bank funding line in 2017, 2018, where you realise, okay, we have a proper infrastructure of a business here.
Yeah, people are taking it seriously, yeah.
It was. I always took it seriously, but I didn't know how big we could look to grow it. And
banks taking you seriously, When
yes, correct.
Yeah, they are actually they're interested. That's quite an accolade, isn't it? When you think where you started from.
It does make you look back and reflect, and then obviously I'm talking to yourself now, and you're going through the process of where we were 14 years ago, and you're thinking, okay, there's a lot of things I wouldn't have done then that I did then that I wouldn't do now.
Yeah.
But
actually, interestingly enough, if you could, what would you have done differently at the beginning? What were they? Because I suppose you don't know.
I
You don't
don't
know
think
till
I've
now.
done anything differently because look, I made probably a lot of mistakes, but tell you what, you learn a lot from the mistakes. You learn so much more from mistakes than you would do from every loan going absolutely perfectly. You learn the resilience, you learn how to overcome the battles with different funding partners and everything else. And I don't think I'd change anything. I think the way it's turned out and the way we are where we are now, I'm just looking out to the team over there, and 14 years later, I couldn't be more proud of what we've achieved, and the team have helped really grow over the course of the years. So, would I change anything? Maybe pay investors a little less at the start. I don't know.
You don't know what you don't know, do you? At the beginning.
Correct. And it got us to where we were. So I don't think you can change anything. I mean, you've got
Yeah, I
to look at
suppose
where
if
we
you
are
change
now
that,
as a
then you
destination.
wouldn't have got where you got. So it's difficult to
Exactly.
pinpoint stuff. What were the big
Exactly.
kind of challenges for you, say, going from like lending family money to moving into other funds? What have been the most challenging stepping stones to get to where you are now?
There's always stepping stones. So when we started, it was very much deal by deal. So I would go to every property. I'd meet every borrower, wherever it was in the country. I'd come up with a paper. I'd send that investment paper over to our high net worth investors, which include my parents and other people.
Yeah.
They would say, yes, we'll do that deal. And that was similar to the family office partnership that we had as well. Every deal would be backed individually by a particular funder. And so, coming back to the previous question about when do you think it was a proper business, it's when we started actually bringing money into the balance sheet and saying, look, we're going to lend this on our terms.
Yeah.
You give us the money and we're going to lend it out and we'll give you a fixed return on that money. So in terms of the challenges, that stopped the challenge of having to get yes on every single deal, which did help, but also comes with its own caveats around
There's a lot more pressure on you as well, right? If you're
a lot of pressure to make
funders'
sure
money as
obviously
opposed to them okaying everyone.
Exactly. So you've also got when you lend via the high net worth individual route, you can talk to them about every single loan. You can give them an update on every single loan. Once you start getting a bit bigger, it becomes a little bit more or less granular. So challenges, I would say it's just evolving and growing what you know as your knowledge base with the funders that you bring on at the same time.
And the institutional side of things, was it yeses at the beginning, or did you have to kiss a lot of frogs, or was there? What year was that? Was that a time when money was fairly flowing? Or?
I'm going to say it was 2017-ish, 2017, okay. 18. We did a big roadshow, so you went down to London, spoke to half a dozen different funders or different funding partners. We chose a particular one, and we're still in partnership with them today, and we're their biggest, one of their biggest.
Yeah, I said you must be doing something right if you're still with the same funding partner.
Yeah, it's evolved over time. People come and go from their side, and certainly from our side as well. So it evolves, but it works. That relationship's there, and I'll probably say it a few times in the chat today that what we do is very relationship lending led in every aspect of it, whether it's in sales, underwriting, post completions. Everything is so personal, and that includes funders. Nice.
And so when did you start realizing that you needed to grow a team? What point did you get to when you're like, okay, I know what I'm not good at, and how did you fill those gaps?
At first, it was just someone to help me with the admin side of things, because I was obviously doing pretty much everything. I was around the country, meeting borrowers and seeing the properties firsthand. A lot of the first deals we did were probably actually direct deals as well, rather than broker-led, which was quite interesting. So it was more around the admin. I needed help. I was out on the road a lot. I needed people to help me answering the emails, go back with terms on certain things. And it was super simple at that point. We were getting maybe one or two deals in a week, maybe, and we were just having a look over them. And it didn't grow. Initially, certainly, it didn't grow that big quickly. It was very organic. I didn't want to hit the market with tons of money and just push it out, because I didn't know what I was doing.
Was that change then? When did you go from because obviously it sounds like it was fairly steady, and then it kind of took quite an upshift. When was that?
It would say probably when the family office got involved. We had real firepower behind us, so we did have to invest in the infrastructure of the business more, on the staffing levels and the team members coming in, and we did. And that's the same with new institutional bank funding, exactly the same as it is if we go to challenger banks, new banks that we're speaking to at the moment. There will be additional people needed to help us grow to that point where we want to get to, and the vision we've got for the business. So,
you've been through an interesting time as well, right? Because tech's changed so much, even in the last
Yeah.
5 years. How are you? How are you kind of getting? Because you've grown that business from going out and meeting people, looking at the bricks and mortar and assessing the clients. We're much more tech driven now. How have you adopted that? Or have you still? Oh no, obviously relationship led, but is it a big adoption? Or is it still got a way to go?
I'm massive into ChatGPT. I love it. I use it a lot. I use it more for admin. I use it a lot to try and make things as easy as possible for me. And I think the guys in the office know how much I love it. It's a bit of a running joke how much I do love it and use it. But I continually saying like this isn't going to take away anyone's role within the business. It will enhance. It won't replace human decision making and bridging. I can't see it. Certainly not at the moment. We're years away from when it possibly could. I believe.
It's the worst it's ever going to be, but it's getting better. It's
always getting better. You see how good it is. But we should be using it to enhance it. Should be freeing up their time to focus on relationships with less admin, and there should be less data input. This should all be done via tech. We're investing heavily in tech at the moment. We've got 2 new platforms which we're currently going into testing with next week, and we should be rolling out within the business within probably the next month or 2, so back end of September, which is a massive point for us.
Yeah.
Because everything's a little bit more manual.
How's that going? If you're not from tech, because I always say it's about tech. Like we've all got this idea of what we want, and then you try and explain it to a developer who speaks a different language. And then, have you come across that with the kind of the challenges of getting your tech built and what it wants, what in your mind or what it looks like?
I'll be honest, I've not been that heavily involved in it. The team have, so the senior leadership team and people from all aspects of the business in each department have been effectively building what we need, and then we've given it to a developer to produce for us and to make.
Sorry to jump in. I just think that is the challenge that's really interesting. It's not just tech for tech's sake. You've got to go through the business and go, what do we need? What's going to enhance us? What's going to help? Rather than just going, cool, everyone's jumping on AI, let's do it.
It's a serious investment in time and investment in money, and we've taken it super serious. We've been building with the 2 different companies that will be merging together into this one big platform for 12 to 18 months. Wow. So it's taken a long time. But it's got to be right. There's no point doing it quick fix and try and hope it works.
The same. No one's gonna look at it the same, are they?
Exactly. So the guys have driven it. I'll be honest, and that's testament to them. And they do that in a lot of aspects of the business. They're the ones that drive it. I know what I want for the business and where I think we want to get to. But in terms of deliverability of what I want, these guys do.
On the ground, isn't it? Yeah. So when was it that you've obviously always been CEO. We kind of laughed about it before, didn't we? You CEO one-man band at the beginning, then you're a genuine CEO. When did you get to that team when kind of operationally you had to take a more of an overview as opposed to being boots on the ground? And how did that affect you? Because you started that business as a guy running around to sites.
I think
how was it?
It was. I would say I'm still pretty hands-on. Less so than I'm certainly not micromanager, but I'm certainly hands-on. Whether it's helping sales and underwriting structure a complex deal, working with recoveries on loans that haven't quite gone to plan, or speaking to funders and funding lines, whether they're new or existing. I'm still very full on. My door's always open. I'd like to think I'm more of a sounding board now than I was probably 3-4 years ago. Yeah. And the guys have got full autonomy to really crack on and do what's right for themselves.
Did you have to learn that skill? Only because I'm doing another series at the moment with the leadership. It's about sales directors. And it's about going from that kind of sales position to the direction, coaching, mentoring position, where you have got to learn to step back and let someone else kind of make mistakes and stuff as well. Has that been tough? Has that always come quite naturally to delegate?
I've not been great at delegating. I always think, I'll just get on with it. I'll do it. Yeah. But you have to. You've got some talent. Everyone's super talented out there. They deserve to have the autonomy to make decisions. Not always going to make the right decisions. I get that, but that's how you learn. Yeah. And they need to be. They need to know that they can make mistakes. You can make a mistake. Just tell me about the mistake. We'll fix it, and also don't make that mistake again.
Yeah, don't do it twice.
Exactly. But you've got. My job now is to listen. Be clear with what our plan is, and be open and try and lead by example. Really, you've got to have a belief that your vision is what they believe in, and I think we've got that. We've got the best team we've probably ever had. In fact, we have got the best team we've ever had, which is great to say.
Good. And how was it? I mean, we talked about this personally as well, but I'm sure you're happy to talk about it because you don't like overly being like not the face of the business, but you kind of let everyone take the credit for it, right? You got that team. You're happy to let them take it. But you also appreciate as CEO, you've kind of you are the face as well. How do you cope with that? Because I know it's not your go-to, but at the same time, it's part of your role as CEO. How are you finding it?
I'm fine with not being the face of the business, 100%. I used to be because it was only really me. I'm more than happy. I don't want limelight. I wouldn't say I don't deserve the limelight, but I think these guys do all the work. They drive the business forward so well. Our senior leadership team are absolutely phenomenal at giving me a balance and a work-life balance that I need. Now I've got a little one who's only 13 months old. Priorities do change, and I've got 100% trust in what they can do, and hopefully they've got 100% trust in me to try and find that vision and the direction for the business to go in. So I think I get more satisfaction with seeing other people achieve things and succeed than probably myself.
Yeah. As a trait of leaders, again, like I said, obviously this is in a different kind of podcast series with CEOs, but on that side, we were looking at people who go to sales to management, and it is very much that common trait of wanting to see other people succeed. And it's not necessarily a trait of salespeople, because we're all relatively ego-driven when it comes to getting sales done, right? Because it's about what you put in. So moving into that leadership role is is a learning. So you can tell me if you've had any training or anything, but I don't think anyone really teaches you to be CEO.
No training at all. I've learned everything on the job. Let's be honest. I've learned pretty loads on the job, really.
Yeah. Well,
there was no background.
We had, interestingly, is right when you're an underwriter or an analyst, or you start a new business in industry. We train people to the nth degree, and then you get good at it, and you go, right, now go and manage. And actually, we don't really install that much. I think it's not we don't know what we don't know type of situation. We tend to push people into that, and no one really. There's not like a specific CEO training. Do you know what I mean? It's just you have to learn everything quickly, but it's the most important job in a business potentially that no one really gives you any insight into. You just got to go into it and do it.
I wouldn't even see myself as a manager. It's weird. It's like I've never seen myself as a manager of people. I am, but I don't see myself as, oh, you're a manager or you're this. It's just I just do the job. It's very strange, really. Maybe that's just because it started with me and it's grown over time, and it is now what it is.
Do you consider yourself, and it's really hard to talk about yourself in it's not an arrogant way, this is a podcast about you, but do you see yourself as a leader? Like, not the imposter syndrome, but do you feel that? Do you feel like they get your vision, they follow it, and you?
I think so. And that's something I've worked on very hard over the last 2-3 years, is I wanted to get the culture of the business right. I wanted to reward the guys and the people who were making these decisions and driving the business forward. I wanted to lead by example, but believe in what they were doing. Treat everyone well. Treat them with respect. Don't ask anyone to do something you haven't or wouldn't already do. And thankfully I've got that because I've done every single job out there, whether it's marketing, sales, underwriting. So I know how difficult it can be. You're
allowed to say it. Yeah, I'm a good leader.
No, I wasn't going to say yes, I'm a good leader, but I believe being a good leader is getting people to buy into what you want to do and what your vision is for a business. And I do think we've got that, and we've worked very hard to get there. We've made some mistakes in the past in terms of the culture of the business. I think every business has, but
we talk about
you move
because culture, I think, it was something up until maybe 10 years ago that we all thought it was coming to something completely different. And actually, we do make the mistakes. Culture is organic, right? It comes from the top down. And we're not talking about beanbags and drinking on a Friday. It's about
it's more
work
to it.
ethic and standard and that kind of thing. But how have you built that, and kind of what mistakes have you made, and how have you got to where you are now?
It's difficult to go into the mistakes. I think they're quite personal for me in terms of, maybe certain hires didn't work out, maybe certain people didn't work as well in the business as I expected them to. And then, probably about 2.5-3 years ago, I thought, you know what, why am I doing everything? Why am I saying, right, we do this, let's do that, we need to do this? Why am I telling people? Why don't I just give them the autonomy to do it themselves? So I sat down with our senior leadership team, and I just said, look, I want you guys to drive this now. From marketing, sales, underwriting, post-completions, finance. You guys are in charge of your own roles. I don't want anything to do with it. You guys do it. Come to me as a soundboard. Come and talk to me. If you've got any issues, of course, any problems that need help with, use me. But I need you guys to know that you have the full autonomy to make mistakes, make hires, do this, do that. And they stepped up hugely, massively stepped up.
How do you do that out of interest? So you've got 3 different managers servicing, I don't know, sales, under whatever it is, and you're trying to build a culture. Because obviously everyone's got an opinion on what the culture should be. How do you get them aligned? Is that where you step in and go, right, this is what it looks? We're all saying this.
It happens over time, doesn't it? It's not a quick fix, unfortunately. It happens over time. So we, as a senior leadership team, meet every week. We discuss all different topics, and one of them is how do we make people enjoy coming to work? You've got to enjoy your job. It's like being at school. If you enjoyed a subject, you excelled in that subject. I did, because I wanted to do it. So you've got to get people on the same wavelength to enjoy the job they do, and if they don't, okay, will they fit somewhere else within the business to make it happy, make them happier in their work-life balance? So we, like I said, we meet every week. We're all on very much the same page, and like you said, it's top down, isn't it? You can build a culture if everybody's on the same wavelength and everyone agrees with the decision-making process. Everyone feels they have autonomy to make and say what they need to say to get to that point. And sometimes there's some hard conversations and some real hard truths to accept before you can make things better.
Would you, again, it's kind of put words in your mouth, but culture fit's so important. If someone is maybe good for the business but don't fit the culture, are they really good for the business? Do you know what I mean? If you've got someone who is someone who's a top performer but affects the thing you're trying to build because culture is so important, have you always had the right mentality when it comes to seeing that, or is it? Because it's really hard, right? If someone's making you money, or someone's doing something that's good, but you can't, we've all got it in the back of our head, like that's not right. Like they're not quite fit for us. Have you made quick decisions on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone who's had a business 13, 14 years will say they've probably made some poor hires, or they've made hires that look good on paper but didn't really transpire into the right.
Had loads of work in recruitment.
Maybe, it's you're going to make mistakes. It's how you deal with those mistakes and how you deal with. Are you happy to have one person who can do everything but pisses everybody else off or makes everybody else unhappy, or isn't the right fit for the culture of the business? The answer should be no. It shouldn't. But like you only learn that the hard way.
Pardon? I said, like you said then, that's the hard decisions.
Yeah, you learn the hard way.
Someone's KPIs, it's off someone's culture, and then but I suppose if you're selling a culture like you are, then they should know already, right?
I think that's the case now. But this is only the last sort of 2-3 years really. So before that, it was a bit of a free for all. I'm not going to lie. But we've really honed in on well-being and benefits of the team and the things that we've implemented over the last year or two, and that shows with various different things within the business. Certainly, staff retention, which is huge for me. Staff retention is super huge.
It's massive for everyone. I had this conversation with the BDM yesterday, and he said, would you rather someone, we're talking about retention, like it's not actually good for our business. And I said, it's amazing for our business because we sell ourselves on being able to put in staff that you retain. Because actually it's not about bums on seats. You've got to keep them. You've got to keep them happy. And that's the constant CEO struggle, right? It's like,
constantly,
what else can I do?
Constantly evolve the business, constantly improve everything from processes to benefits to well-being. We've got a few things within the business. We launched My Hope, which is internal well-being and benefits portal. We've got the Hope Academy for developing and digitally training the guys to make them better at what they do and just to develop them as people. So
have you noticed that as well? Sorry, I always.
Yes, okay.
Because generationally, because you're similar to me when about startup times, if you notice the want in people changes, so you've got to kind of change with it. Because when I was younger, like I was money driven, and we all grafted, and you didn't really put your head above the parapet just because you worked hard, because that's what everyone did. But it's very different the way people are motivated now. Have you kind of had to move with the times, or have you kind of hit that where you kind of started with that generation?
Yeah, I think everyone's different, aren't they? Everyone has different aspirations. Some people really are cash driven, and most of those fall into sales, don't they? Let's be honest. Other people just want a really healthy work-life balance and want to know that they'll be backed when they need to be backed by the team, by leadership. Others are just happy to plod. I don't know. There's different ways. Everyone.
We talked about this the other day as well. There's nothing wrong with that in a business because not everyone wants to be managing director.
You can't. Everyone's so different, but you can't have just a pack of people who are in the same mindset. Everyone's got such different mindsets and different ways in which they want to work, and you've got to offer that flexibility of the work-life balance and everything else that goes with that to retain the staff as well. Don't forget. So there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, when people look in, they go, oh, you've got, I don't know, 35, 36 staff now. Well, what do you do? And you're like, oh, hell, it's like, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. People management mostly, I'll be honest, not going to lie.
Yeah. Do you do that? Because I think a CEO's job is basically fighting fires and not making sure people are happy. Do you have that problem of you've got a list of stuff to do in the day and you get to the end of the day and that list is still there? Because obviously you're a firefighter, right? Most for 90% of the day. How do you manage your time?
I have red flags on my emails, and that's my go-to. Right. So if anyone says, "I'm right, okay, I need to send me an email," I need to red flag it. I need to know it's there.
Yeah.
And I'll work my way through that. I can't say I get through it every day because there's other things that jump in the way, and there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm not the most organised, I have to say. I'm pretty gung-ho. It's like, right, okay, let's do this. Well, I'm not going to worry about how we do it. Let's just do it. We'll figure it out later. Don't worry about that.
Is that why you've put people in the business who are more process-driven? Because that's the magic.
100%. Yeah, 100%. We've always got to find efficiencies within the business. It's bridging finance. Process-driven efficiencies are the easiest ones, I would say, to implement because there's so many quick fixes you can do. Whether it's just improved communication between all parties, stakeholders, brokers, borrowers, everyone. There's some easy fixes, but these guys need to tell me what those fixes are because I don't see it day to day.
Yeah.
So that's them giving them the autonomy to come and say, right, we need to fix this. And the amount of times I come in to the office and I've seen two heads of department just having a meeting, I know there's something getting fixed there. It's not just a moan. I know that they're there to fix something.
Can you decipher between the two? Between a moan and a fix? Because everyone's got problems, right? And you kind of have to grade them. Is that relatively easy to do, or is that where you've got that kind of middle management now that can kind of come to you with the bigger ticket stuff?
To be fair, they don't come to me with problems. They'll come to me, right, we've had this issue. Previously, I think in the past, this has been, oh, we've got this issue, what do we do? Then it becomes, okay, we've got this issue, what do we do? And I'll go, instead of giving them an answer, what I think is, okay, what would you do?
Yeah.
99 times out of 100, it's probably the right thing. So it's just giving them the trust and the confidence to make a decision. So now you find that people come in and go, actually, we've had this issue. We've fixed it. We've done this. Everything's running fine. I'm like, great. That's perfect. So
they're the best sort of problems to have a solution at the end of it.
Yeah.
Was that a hard transition? I only say this on a personal note. Like I know my flaws, and that's probably one of mine where you don't put it back to people enough. Because we're a fast business, we're a small business, we sometimes need to get shit done. And actually it's not beneficial to the business to do everything. And I know you said it's only happened over the last few years. So was it like quite transitional, is that the word, where you slowly got into it, or did you go one day, right, I'm going to give everyone autonomy?
It was one day. Yeah. I didn't like where the business was headed. I didn't like the culture. I didn't like what values we were presenting externally. And it wasn't there. So it was one day. It was
self-awareness as well, by the way, because it's easy to be blind as a CEO and go, good, money's out the door. But actually, you're looking at the business as opposed to just the
that was, to be fair, and I can't take credit for all of that. That was the team coming to me and saying, look, we need to change stuff, and it was like, right, okay, this is. To be fair, they're the ones that started the ball rolling on it, and we've just continued on with that, which has been amazing. So yeah,
you put that on someone else. Heaven forbid you should take the plaudits.
Yeah, you've got to give them the chance to do it. And they thrive.
And it produces great leaders as well, right?
Honestly, we've got most of the senior management team or leadership team we have been with the company for 5+ years, some 10+ years. So these are people who. The trust is there. We value each other. We know how we work, and it all comes together eventually. Like 12 years later.
Yeah, easy now, isn't it? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Overnight success over 12 years.
That's it, exactly. It's interesting because no one sees the lows; they only see the highs, and you see what you talk about. But as you know, and everybody else probably on your podcast who's ever found a business knows that the highs are high, but bloody hell, the lows are low.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard. You've got to have support. You've got to have support from the team. You've got to have support at home. I've got an amazing wife who really supports me when I need to be fully involved in the business, and that could be 24/7 for a week, 2 weeks. But ultimately, at the same time, I have a massively supportive team that if I'm out the business, they're on it. So
we don't really touch on that about the stuff outside the business, but it's super important. You've got to have someone who buys into what you're doing as well, right? Because
100%.
If business takes up so much of our life,
yeah.
If you can't share it with someone outside the business, then it's really hard. And I think it's too tough if you haven't got that kind of.
Yeah, you do have to find a balance, and I've struggled with finding the balance until my son Leo was born 13 months ago. So I believe I've found a better balance.
I'm 4 kids in, and I still haven't found a balance. But
I know, well, yeah, I think I found it, but you know what? I probably haven't. Have I?
Yeah.
I've just slightly tweaked my working patterns and things like that, just to be a bit more present.
When you say balance, because work-life balance is like a bit of a bullshit word as well.
Yeah, I get it.
Mine is so unbalanced, but like my kids understand that I work on holiday because we get nice holidays.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like they understand it. So it's not like they know I have to do calls in the evening. But also I think I'm instilling an ethic in them. They're like, if you want the things you want, you do have to work a bit harder. Otherwise you just, so, but work-life balance is really hard because at the same time, I do get to enjoy my weekend. I do get to take them to sporting events. You know, I'm blessed with that kind of thing. So it's really hard to depict balance because I'm always going to be balanced towards the business because that's the thing that funds the family, you know, without making sure you don't neglect anyone.
Oh, it is 100%. And you know, and I know, and like I say, everybody else probably who's come on the podcast knows that really, if you're a founder, the only time you get off is Christmas time. It's that 10 to 14 day window where everything does shut down.
Doesn't count when you're on Sun Lounger though. I always say it to people like, I'm working on holiday, I'm not digging holes. You know
I love working on holiday. I'll be honest, I really enjoy, and my wife will kill me saying this, but I really enjoy working when I'm on holiday.
Yeah.
I like being involved.
I thought it was like a bit of a badge of honour working on holiday, but actually, I think, Jamie Pritchard said this to me the other day and it really resonated. Sometimes I relieve the stress on holiday by looking at work because if I don't know what's going on, that stresses me out. If I talk to the team and they say, we don't need you here, go away, that's cool. But it's just that little relief because actually not knowing something and thinking, because you know your head's a million miles an hour whether you're off or not. You try switching off. So people say what they want. Like it's next to impossible to completely switch off. So
it is
knowing that things are in good hands when you're away and being a little bit involved is a massive stress reliever.
My involvement is now just really looking at emails and seeing where we're up to with certain things that are going on within the business rather than being involved in a decision-making process whilst I'm away, which actually I enjoy doing that because, I say that. I enjoyed it until Leo was born, and then obviously you go on holiday, and holidays are very different. You don't have time to look at your phone and look at emails on the Sun Lounger because you've got a little one there who just wants constant attention and constant stimulation.
Mine's a different world now, see, mine are teenagers who are just trying to keep them out of the bar.
Oh, that was us once, remember?
So let's talk about the business a little bit, because obviously we talked about it, and you've been great, by the way. I've really enjoyed it. I think
me too.
Very good, honest conversation. But how, in a world where you started, where there was a massive competition, where there was competition, but not like it is now, how do you kind of put your head above the parapet when you're up against 240 bridging lenders, all offering something different, all saying they're quick, all saying, this is our USP, which isn't USP speed, as everyone knows. It's just that's what's expected. It depends on the legals. We all know that. But how have you gone about that? How have you still seen success throughout the years where more and more people are popping up in your market?
Yeah, there's new people all the time, isn't there? Like I said, when we started it wasn't to create anything disruptive. It was just to do lending well. In a good way, and let's be honest, at that time it was just me, so I didn't really have a USP. Well, the USP would have just been me for making decisions, probably bad decisions, because I didn't know what I was doing.
Something they won't do.
I'd just do any loan possible that came over the desk. Now you look at the guys in the office; they're obviously the people that we have are the biggest USPs. I think many companies and founders would have to say that, and I think it's really is true. And they live and breathe the values that we've developed together. The relationships, long-term relationships that we've got with key stakeholders, brokers, funders, the track record creates confidence in the market. We don't just fund deals, we look to solve problems at different stages within the process, and that includes in life management. We're not here to default you and throw in the receivers straight away. We do care, we do support borrowers in every stage of the business. But effectively, bridging is bridging. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it various different things, but we're all doing the same thing.
That's the same thing. But it's interesting, though, isn't it? Because you've got a decent piece of the pie. It's safe to say your business is good, and you see people who are always kind of remain the same. But it's hard to put your finger on. But like you said, then the people around you, right? The people that can actually get the
it's the people, it's the relationships that you build over time. The track record gives people confidence and trust that you will do what you say you would do. You know what they say about reputation. You know, it takes a lifetime to make, and one bad deal or one bad thing to break, or whatever
We
the
had the
phrase
same
is.
conversation yesterday. We were talking about reputation. I said, I've spent years, because we were sat in the pub and I was drinking lime and soda. And I said, don't think I'm sat here for the fun of it. As much as I enjoy 10 lime and sodas on a Thursday in a pub, but the reputation side of things, I was like, it will take me 1 minute to lose everything. All you got to do, you turn one person over. It's so hard to get back when you spent years and years building it up.
Yeah.
But I also think that comes from your ethics as well, right? It's probably not going
Yeah.
to happen if you're not a dick. You know what I mean?
No, I'd agree. I'd agree. Look, I've had fallouts with certain people in the industry over time. Not many, I have to say. But yeah, it's like, don't be a dick policy, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what? I had this conversation with my colleague earlier on. I said, I've only fallen out with 2 people in 15 years. And that's both because they questioned my ethics.
Wow.
Because, we're in it a long game, right? We're in it a long time.
Yeah.
It's business.
Correct. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Honestly, it's easy to do.
Amen. So if I'm going to ask you one more, because I said it'd be half an hour. I've gone over, but I'll just chat for hours.
All right.
If you could go back, that's not right. But if there's someone now, which there are obviously lots of people who are looking at setting up lenders, or they're looking at getting their first funding lines, that kind of thing. What kind of advice do you give to the new CEO that puts them in good stead for longevity as well, not just for making a few quid?
Yeah. First of all, you will make mistakes. Learn from them. Like I said, the highs will be high, the lows will be low. You will get through the lows. They will become highs. The highs will become lows again. It's a constant cycle.
Yeah.
The biggest issue you think you have in the first year or two will be the smallest issue 10 years later. It's a constant involvement of you as a person, but also understanding a business and a marketplace. So don't sweat the small stuff. You will realise that when the lows are low and the proverbial shit hits the fan, that's when you'll really know if you're a leader or not.
I thought that was a problem before, but it turns out it was all right.
Yeah, I mean, you look back and I remember getting the first default on the loan book, and it'd gone over, and I thought that was the end of the world. And you don't realise that.
No,
well, actually, this happens every day.
Fine.
It happens every day in the world where someone defaults on the loan, and it's how you react to that. And then that became other things, and other things take over, funding issues, and you just get through it. It's part and parcel of running a business, unfortunately.
Nice, thank you, mate. I really appreciate your time, and hopefully,
thank you. I really
everyone
appreciate
got some really good insights from it. I genuinely enjoyed it. It's good. It's lovely to speak to you. I said I've been trying to get you on for ages. I knew you'd be good.
No. Well, let's catch up personally after this. I think that would be great. I'd love to do that.
And thank you everyone for listening on Spotify, watching on YouTube. It's been another episode of NRG Insights. Cheers, Jonathan.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thanks, Marcus.